Now let's talk about how to deploy and maintain items in the Power BI service. Here we will talk about how to create and manage workspaces, and we'll discuss the management of service items inside of the Power BI service in Microsoft Fabric. Let's talk about how to create and manage workspaces. Workspaces are a central repository to collaborate with colleagues and other teams. Workspaces house our collection of reports, dashboards, semantic models, and more. Reports and dashboards can be shared individually with wider audiences and organizations or together through workspace roles. Workspaces provide a place to share and present reports and dashboards in a single environment with the highest level of security. Through the past few discussions, we've had a chance to do a myriad of tasks, loading and transforming data from several sources, building data models and visuals, creating DAX calculations, and even publishing a report or two to the Power BI service. But what's next? The next step in our data analysis journey is to share these reports with a wider audience and organizations. To create a workspace, navigate to the Power BI service, select Workspaces. It's the icon with stacked boxes on the left. On the bottom of the resulting pane, we will see a plus New Workspace button, like the image on the left. Next, click it and see the image on the right, where you can add in a workspace name, description, and image. Be sure to give your workspace a unique name, and optionally you can upload an image to distinguish it from other workspaces. Be sure to click on the Advanced button and select Power BI license that you are using, which is hopefully at least at minimum Power BI Pro license. Lastly, select Save, and now you've created a workspace. Roles determine what a user can do in a workspace so teams can collaborate. As the workspace owner, after creating the workspace, you'll want to ensure that the appropriate access is given to the members of the team. Workspace roles allow you to designate who can do what within a workspace. To assign these roles to users, navigate to the workspace you've created, and at the top left of the ribbon, click Access. You will need to add the email addresses of individual users, mail-enabled security groups, distribution lists, M365 groups, or regular security groups. It's best to use groups and assign them the listed specific roles: admin, member, contributor, or viewer. Please see Roles in Workspaces in Microsoft Fabric for more information. We've created a workspace, managed access, and reviewed workspace items. Now let's explore how to use the Workspace app for content distribution. An app is a Power BI content type that combines related dashboards and reports all in one place. An app can have one or more dashboards and one or more reports all bundled together. Apps are created by Power BI designers who distribute and share the apps with consumers. Your apps are organized in the app's content list. Content can be in the form of a report, a dashboard, a semantic model, data flows, etc. An app is a published read-only window into your data for mass distribution and viewing. When you're ready to share apps with your users, you can publish the app. This process requires a Power BI Pro license at minimum. When you're ready to publish your app with a collection of reports, dashboards, and semantic models, navigate back to the workspace and select Create App, shown here at the top navigation ribbon. The first step is the Setup tab shown here. Give the app a name, a description, and an app logo or theme color if needed. It's a good idea to check the box in the Global App Settings and install this app automatically for your users to easily be able to access it going forward. The next step is the Content tab. Select the content to include in this report and the dashboards and reports that you'd like for this workspace, and they will be bundled together in an app. You can add sections, links, and reorder the content as needed. The next step is the Audience tab. Grant access either to all the users in your organization, or you can choose which users have access. Now you can also create multiple audiences if you have a report that may be viewed by a diverse group of people who only need access to certain portions of the content. This doesn't replace row-level security, but it's another tool. Upon making edits where necessary, you can select Publish App. You will see the screen with a link that you can share with your users to access your app, or if you selected to install the app automatically, your users can find it by clicking Apps on the bar on the left in the Power BI service. To update your app, navigate back to the workspace and make any updates required in the reports or dashboards. The workspace acts as a staging area that you can use to make any changes. But the changes will not be added to the app until you select Update App in the top right corner of the ribbon, where it previously said Publish App. Semantic model and data flow updates are updated immediately. When you select Update App, you can make any changes to the setup navigation and the Permissions tab, and when ready, select the Update button. Subscribe yourself and others to the Power BI reports, dashboards, and even paginated reports. You'll receive an email on a schedule you set. The email can contain a snapshot and a link to the report or dashboard. This can be an easy way to keep report consumers up to date. Now I'll show you how to create a workspace and an app. Now let's focus a little bit more on workspaces, apps, and even dashboards. In our last video, we published our report from the Power BI desktop into a workspace and in the Power BI service inside of Fabric. How I prepared for that is I had to create a workspace first. So I went into the workspaces here off of app.fabric.microsoft.com. I logged on with an account in Fabric, and I went from Fabric into the Power BI service. From here, I can create a workspace. I have a lot already here. But I can make a new workspace, and how that works is we have to give the workspace a name. The name has to be unique, so you may have a little bit of an issue if it's not unique. I already have a sales analysis workspace, so maybe I'll call this Sales Analysis B. I could upload an image. I could associate the workspace to a domain so that it can be managed. I can also use Advanced and use it in case here we want to use at least the trial, but the Pro is acceptable too. Trial and Premium will give you the extra options that you might want here in Power BI though. So I'm going to go do Trial, and I'm going to click Apply. And what you will note when you create the workspace is that it has nothing inside of it to begin with. And you could add some tasks to it from here, different things that you might want to work with. But this is where I can go and upload maybe from OneDrive or SharePoint or browse my local system looking for either PBI, X files or RDL files that I can add, RDL being from the SQL Server reporting services. I could also add in many things, a report, a paginated report, which is easily printed, and it's a little similar to the Power Report Builder that you may be familiar with. It's a successor, as you know, to working with Report Builder, our paginated server. And so a lot of those reports may look similar, and we could use those here. And it looks very similar to an Office product with the ribbon at the top. You could also do a dashboard from here, a workflow, a data mart, all sorts of stuff. But we're going to focus on a report, and we're also going to focus on a dashboard. So I'm going to click on Report here. And notice when I do that, I actually just build my report from right here. If I'd like using Excel as a source, using CSV as a source, I could also paste or manually enter data, but I'm going to pick it from some of the models that I already have uploaded here as a source for my new report. Notice that it gives me the option to download my Power BI desktop, a version of it right here too. So I have a lot of different models that I'm going to choose from, and I'm going to choose the model that we had for our sales analysis copy. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have it just auto-create a report for us. When I do that, it's going to look at my model and then create a report. And I can use that report if I'd like, maybe as my starting point. So as you can see here, I'm going to go ahead and kind of next to that, giving it just a little bit of an idea of some of the things I can do here. Very similar to what we had ability to do in the Power BI desktop. You have those options up at the top you can work with. And you have a report automatically created that I can save right now if I'd like to do that. And a little bit more up top, some of the options I can use. Maybe I can export this out into PowerPoint or Excel. I can go into a file and I can save a copy or download it once I've saved it and explore the data. I can also create an alert. I can do that really for a lot of our reports and dashboards. When a number gets above or below a certain value or becomes even to a certain value, you can have it notify you. I can also edit if I want to do that. So let me save this for a moment, and I'm going to save this, and I'm going to save it into the sales analysis. And I'm just going to name it here, Auto Report, and I'm going to save it. Then what you'll note once I've saved it is it loads up for us, and it can load back, and I can get back into it if I'd like, and I can get some insights if I want to do a little bit of a deeper dive here, which focuses on AI, and I can still go into subscribe and subscribe to it. Same thing with the dashboard. You can subscribe to it. I'm going to click on edit, and it's going to switch me into a different mode where I can go in, and it looks very familiar to us, very similar to the Power BI desktop, where I can do editing here too. Look where you have the data pane, the visualization pane, you have the filter pane, so you can have edit capabilities out there in the Power BI service in Fabric. So the workspace is highly able to be utilized here. It's a repository. I'm not going to say what I've done here, but it's a repository for a lot of objects that I want to create in Power BI. You saw some of those. I want to go back to the workspace I made a little earlier, and I did an upload to it, and that was the sales analysis. And when I uploaded my report file, it automatically created the semantic model with it. So it pulled that in from the Power BI desktop when I uploaded it. It pulled the report and the semantic model. I can use this as a starting point if I'd like for a dashboard. So I'm going to click on the report itself. Notice when I set my mouse on it, there's a number of options that come up. I can get some more options from here. Maybe take this out to Excel. There's that quick insights also that can give us extra information. What it does is it's about 30 different ways that it can display your data so that it can help you if I want to get quick insights there. That could be very helpful. Especially if you're hard-pressed to figure out which metric you want to use. It has 30 different ways you can lay out the metrics for your report. And then, of course, you can get into the lineage, the paginated report. You can also get some extra information on the view usage there for your metrics. So these are some good areas to search out. So I'm going to click on my report, and you can easily make a dashboard from this, as you can see right here. And you can do that by either pinning individual visualizations. So with this one, there's a pin right here that you can use. You can pin individual visualizations if you like to the dashboard. And sometimes you run out of space here, so you can roll things back if you need to hide. And notice too that you have different pages in your report too off at the left-hand side here. So you can make comments also. So you can get a little bit more space there by reducing that. You can get into comments right here on your report. You have a bookmark you can add favorites, add it to your favorites. There's a ton of stuff here, but I can click also right here and pin to the dashboard my entire page. And I'm going to give it a name here called Sales Analysis Dashboard. And this is where my entire page will be pinned to a dashboard. And I could have pushed it in onto an existing dashboard or choose a new one, but we'll go ahead and pin that. Now I want to go to the dashboard. And you could have also gotten into a mobile layout as you saw, but here is my dashboard. And right here, while I'm in this dashboard, remember it's just a single pane of single canvas. I can edit it. I can work with some of the additional tiles that are here. There's a lot to choose from. I can go in and get into the dashboard theme and change the colors if I'd like. A lot of options through there, light, dark, colorblind friendly, custom. Custom gives me the option to change a few more colors. I can then save it if I'd like to do that. I can go into the mobile layout, and that's especially helpful if I'm going to have this dashboard visible on a mobile device. And there's other options, as you can see, being able to see the lineage and also open usage metrics if I want to be able to do that. I can have people write comments, which is a good thing to do if we just rolled this out, and allow people to give us feedback. I can share it. I can subscribe to it like I did with the report. But when you do that, there's kind of a lot of work to share each individual dashboard. So we have an easier way we can make an app available, which is where I'm going to go in just a moment. But I just saw this. I could also ask it a question. It's Q&A. Q&A uses AI, and I can use my own language to be able to talk with Power BI. So what is the profit by product category? I can ask it. Notice there were some pre-created prompts that I could use there. And then I could hit my space bar, and I can have it auto-populate by first typing in a little bit here like the word pie. Maybe what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this from a bar chart to a pie chart. And I can choose some other options as you saw from that list, but that pie looks pretty good here. And maybe what I want to do is I want to see it. Maybe I don't know if I'd like that stacked bar. So the pie looks pretty good. Maybe I want to try a line chart. So I'm going to do that. How does that look? Let's take a look. So I could take this and then I could pin this to my dashboard, and that would be a good way of working with it too. And then you have all of the extra options here of being able to visualize, filter, and work with your data. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my workspace, and there's the dashboard we created. And what I'd like to do is I could actually grant access separately, going into Manage Access, adding in people or groups here and putting in their email. Better a group email, and assigning them to viewer is really our #1 option. But you can give someone viewer to the workspace. They can see all the objects inside when you do that. So this might be a little broad. That broader maybe it is what you want to go with, the viewer. So I'm going to create an app now. So got to think about creating apps. And this is where we have to give it a name, a description. We can choose to put in a color if we'd like to go that route, a logo. One of the important settings to set, though, for this app is to make certain that you install the app automatically for your users. So this is a really good option to work with here, and one that you should consider so that your users can easily find this app. Next, we're going to go in and add content. And I can choose this little arrow right here, and I could add a link to add a section if I want. But if I click on Add Content on the right, I can then pick from this list of reports and dashboards that I would like to bundle together. I can also get a preview of those pages if I'd like to do that too. You can see the report pages, the dashboard bundled together for a read-only mass distribution. And I could add an entire audience in here, or I can pick up specific users in groups. I can go into advanced and adjust the permissions there too. And then when I'm ready, I can publish the app, and it's going to give me a link that I can copy. I could share this out. I could also just go to the app right here, and it opens up a new page. And here is our app. So you can see the different pages in our report. You saw that the blue was created here. That was one of the colors I picked. There's the dashboard. You have some of very common stuff here that we saw earlier. Our report, the pages, the dashboard, all in this app, easily shared out for us. And all we need to be able to do is make certain that our users can get to it. Notice as I go through the pages, you can verify that it's all there. So what I can do is I can go back and get back to setup. If I forgot the link, there's the link where I could copy it. So that could be handy. Copying that link right there is a good option so that I can give that out if I'd like to. I can also make additional changes to it and update it if I need to do that. And you can see that Update App is available, so I can get back into it and make changes. And so easily get back in, copy the link if I forgot where that was at. I can also, since I installed the app for my users, they can get into apps to find it there too. It makes it a very handy way. So I can either give them the link, or I can have them go into apps and find the app from there. And here's another app that we have called the Sales Analytics for Dynamics 365 Sales. It's actually a really good app that you can pull in. It's one of our sample apps that I got off of Get Apps. And it has multiple pages out there, as you can tell. And I can go back into Workspaces here and back into Sales Analysis. And I can see that I have premium status with that diamond listed there. Remember, I can choose the trial or the premium per capacity. So a lot of good options here with Workspaces. I hope you saw how the workspace can hold your resources here for Power BI. So reports, dashboards, semantic models, how you can make dashboards from your reports and use tiles in your dashboard on that single canvas, and then bundle the reports and the dashboards together into an app that you can then share out and allow people to have a one spot where they go to be able to use the report and dashboard bundled together for mass distribution at the read-only permission level. Now that we've created our Power BI workspaces in our Power BI service in Microsoft Fabric and assigned workspace roles and created apps for mass read-only distribution, it's time to talk about how to manage a few service items in the Power BI service. The Schedule Refresh feature in Power BI service allows you to define the frequency and time slots to refresh a particular semantic model. Scheduling the refresh of your data will save you time, as you don't have to manually refresh the data. It also ensures that the end user can access the most up-to-date data. Considering how important it is to have accurate sales data, you need to find a solution. The data usually gets updated every week, but you don't want to have to come back to the report every week to manually refresh the semantic model. And sometimes you forget to do it. You decide to use Power BI Scheduled Refresh functionality to solve this problem. To set up a refresh schedule for the semantic model, go to the Semantic Models plus data flows page. Before you set up a refresh schedule, you must have created a gateway connection to any on-prem data sources. Be aware that the refresh might not take place at the exact time you've selected. Power BI starts scheduled refreshes on a best effort basis. The target is to initiate the refresh within 15 minutes of the scheduled time slot, but a delay of up to 1 hour can occur if the service can't allocate the required resources sooner. You can also refresh a semantic model at any time by performing an on-demand refresh, which won't affect the next scheduled refresh time. You can see the refresh status and history at any time. This is useful if you want to find out when the last refresh occurred and when the next one is scheduled. It's also a good practice to check the refresh status of your semantic models to see if there have been any refresh errors that need to be addressed. Semantic models can be refreshed on demand or on a schedule between 8 and 48 times a day, depending on your license. A semantic model refresh checks the data sources you configured in the Power Query Editor and updates the underlying data, then applies all of your transformations again. This is especially helpful for relational data sources, such as a database or a data warehouse, but may not apply as much to a flat file or an Excel file. Do you have a lot of data and need a quicker refresh, eliminating doing a full refresh with data that hasn't changed? Try the incremental refresh feature in Power BI. It's a popular feature because it allows you to refresh large semantic models quickly and as often as needed, without having to reload historical data each time. It should only be used on data sources and queries that support query folding. If query folding isn't supported, incremental refresh could lead to a bad user experience because it will pull all data, potentially multiple times. To set up an incremental refresh, you will need to define the filter parameters in the Power Query Editor and use the parameters to apply a filter. Next, you will need to define the incremental refresh policy in the Power BI desktop by right-clicking the three dots or ellipses of the table. This table is likely the fact table because it's the one that changes the most. So you want to select incremental refresh policy from right-clicking the ellipses on the fact table. Lastly, publish changes to the Power BI service and make certain that the Power BI service has access to your data sources on-prem by installing a gateway. This can be configured from the Power BI service. Consider installing a gateway to access on-prem data. The gateway software acts like a bridge. It allows organizations to retain databases and other data sources on their on-prem networks and accesses that on-prem data from cloud services, such as Power BI and Azure Analysis Services, to name a few. A gateway facilitates quick and secure behind-the-scenes communication flowing from a user in the cloud to your on-prem data source and then back again to the cloud. There are two types of on-prem gateways. The first is the organizational mode version of the data gateway, which allows multiple users to connect to multiple on-prem data sources and is suitable for complex scenarios. The second is the personal mode of the data gateway, which allows one user to connect to data sources. This type of gateway can be used only with Power BI, and it cannot be shared with other users. So it is suitable in situations where you're the only one in your organization who creates reports. Pick the gateway that meets your organizational needs. This task is usually done by an admin in your organization. You can download the gateway from the Power BI service in Microsoft Fabric using the big down arrow in the top right-hand corner. Now it's time for our service items knowledge check. Question 1. Which of the following options is the best description of a workspace? Answer. a centralized location to store and collaborate on content. Question 2, where are semantic models scheduled, refreshes configured? Answer, Power BI service. In this section, we focused on the creation and management of workspaces in the Power BI service, what they are, how to make them, and how to allow users to access the resources inside of them through roles. We also took a look at the management and distribution of reports and dashboards via apps that can be bundled together for mass read-only distribution. Then we took a deeper look into the data refresh and talked about how to set up a refresh, focusing in on an incremental refresh. Lastly, we did a high overview of the Power BI gateway to connect to on-prem data sources. I hope you got a lot out of this session. Thank you for joining us. Hope to see you again soon.